Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 75 of the Stars and Stripes FC podcast. Donald Wine here, manager of Stars and Stripes FC, your source for all things U.S. national teams, the players that comprise them, and everything else surrounding the game of soccer in America. We are back from SheBelieves Cup, and we are recording this late on Thursday, February 24th, mostly because of me, because the ice storm in Dallas, travel was chaotic to say the least. I just got home, but I wanted to spend this episode discussing the U.S. women's national team winning their 5th SheBelieves Cup. But I didn't want to do that by myself. So I have two incredible guests on this episode that were at the first two matches out in California. And together we're going to discuss the entirety of SheBelieves and women's soccer in general. If you have not listened to these two, you are about to get familiar with Skye and Sylvs. They are the Shea Butter FC Podcast, part of the Two Cents FC Cultureverse, as our man Grego would say. The Shea Butter FC Podcast is two Black women's perspectives on soccer, football, and everything in between, delivering content with soul and seasoning that will moisturize your skin, lay your edges, and deepen your love for all things Black women. And I should say we need more of that in the soccer space. So Skye and Sylvs, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, yo, you killed that. That was good.
That was good. I was trying to be like, hey.
We got to get you.
I had to practice. I had to do it justice. I didn't want to mess that up. Yeah. So. Thank you guys for being on the show. I want to start. We'll get to your show in a little bit, but I want to start with SheBelieves Cup. You were out in California for the first two games, and let's start with the Czech Republic game because I feel like that was the most frustrating or sluggish of a game, a scoreless draw between the Czech Republic and the U.S. women's national team. So, Skye, I'll start with you. From your seats, what were some of the issues you saw in that game, or were there issues? Was it more how the Czechs played, or was it more how the U.S. kind of, made it a sluggish affair with kind of a sloppy play?
It was a combination of both. So the Czech Republic came out really organized, and they effectively showed why you need younger players a part of the national team to play, because they exploited the fact they knew what they could and couldn't do. And they leveraged and played the opponent in the U.S. and exploited some of their weaknesses, quotation marks, in the lack of experience, where they played a defense, or it was like, cool, you can do what you want to. You can be better in terms of technicality. You can do all this cool stuff. But if you don't put balls in nets, then you're not going to score. And so they had an organized defense that a mature, more veteran team could exploit that. But they played into some of the tendencies of having younger talent who hasn't played on an international stage before, well, extensively, and hasn't played together. But then other issues were just like formation-wise, what Vlaco, what he was doing deployed, where it was like, what are we doing for what y'all were playing in terms of Czech Republic, particularly personnel-wise in the midfield? You effectively had like double sixes, or people who've been playing sixes. In Morgan Tra and Andy Sullivan, but then also the right back situation with Kelly O'Hara, what you had her doing, I'm assuming, because she was getting in people's lanes, she was right backing and right winging and central forwarding and getting in people's spaces and wasn't playing with what was happening, what you could see above in development of play. Additionally, there were times where I was wondering what he told Christy Mewis and Mitch Purse in particular, where they weren't just going to go shoot. They were like playing and doing whatever he wanted them to do in the midfield or as a winger in Midge's case, or it didn't like make sense when it was like, y'all need to score. It's almost the end of the game. So it was like the lack of experience in some cases for some of the younger players. Because I could see Trinity when she came in, she was doing a lot of stuff where it was like, go put the ball in the net. Or even Katarina, Sophia, it was like, go put the ball in the net. Y'all doing a lot of dancing. To other players like Kelly, like, why are you going in these lanes when the buildup, it doesn't make sense? Because Emily Fox is not doing the same thing. Where it was more so a miscommunication, youth, what in the world, directions from Blacko, as to also Czech Republic really organized. They did what they did, what they could do, basically.
Yeah, and Sylvs, I'll bring you in here because I agree with you, Skye. It seemed, the word I think I used in my mind was unbalanced. What you were talking about, like with Kelly being on one side going all the way up where Emily is just kind of sitting in the back. But I think the other thing that was kind of interesting is that normally when we play this high press, you see it just relentless going after. But Sylvs, it felt like they were very tentative when it came to that. And it led to a lot of issues in organization. Do you agree with that? Or did you see it differently?
No, I agree. It wasn't a full-on press all the time, which is wild, right? Because you had young enough players who can go in ways that maybe the veterans can't, or, you know, they can go for a game and not a whole a tournament. So I don't know if this was the let's experiment and see some things game, because there was also a time when like Kelly O'Hara was on the left side with Emily Fox. And so you only had two lines of defense. And I'm just like, but you're not asking Emily Fox to do the same thing, and she didn't do it in the second half. And I was just really confused as to why she wasn't in the right back position, or Sophia Smith was dropping back to the right back position, even though she's a winger
like,
to defend. And I'm like, that overlap shouldn't be happening at this point. But yeah, I think the press wasn't on. I think I heard somebody mention like some of the aim of that was to teach them like patience, how to sort of break down a low block. I agree with Skye. However, I don't think you do that with 2 6s. And I think Morgan Gautreau has more than earned her, you know, shot getting another look on the team. But I don't think that's the game you deploy that tactic. Because when Christy Mewis came in and was able to run at those lines a little bit, there was a little more joy. I don't know why Midge Purse was central. That was weird.
that was weird.
She needs space. Like she's 1v1. She's a 1v1. She's going to run at people. You can't knock her off the ball, but she can't do that centrally. She is a winger to me. I wouldn't put Midge centrally unless it's to cut in and out for some interplay. But she lives on that wing. So there were just a lot of choices. I liked the interplay between Rose and Kat. I thought that was cool.
Yes.
I guess we'll talk about the other games later. Kat's so good, it matters, but it doesn't. But I'd really like us to actually commit to this false nine. Like if we're going to try it with her, if we're going to build around her,
yes, let's
really see what that looks like, because you see, we have the talent to go with her, right? Like we have the wing talent and to go with her. I think in frustrating ways, finishing's hard for them. Yeah. And that's usually a sign of youth, right? Like you learn how to finish.
I feel like that'll come. Right.
Yeah, that comes unless you're, experience. You know, a weirdo who takes 100 shots a day. But like, you know, that sort of shout out.
Hey, you missed that one, weirdo, actually.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was one of those spaces where I'm like, yeah, like having one or two people who aren't afraid of the moment, who've been in those situations, to link up with that young talent, I think comes back to your word, right? Balance. I think we've got to find that balance of, I think this team is probably going to be younger than not going into 2023, but I think you do need a handful of veterans who can really, besides Becky, who can really finish chances, at least one on each line, like at least like 5 to 6 that can really settle everything, who've been here, the moment's not too big. And you've got to find that balance between having them in form, right? They've got to earn it, but also, you know, giving the younger players enough of an opportunity. But yeah, I think just pressing relentlessly wasn't in the cards for that. I didn't take it as they didn't want to win. They didn't want to score. We clearly created chances, but I thought that Czech defense was solid. I think they parked that bus. They really clamped down. And like Skye said, I think they knew the inexperience, and I don't think they feared the goals. Like they didn't fear those goal scorers in the same way with that inexperience. And so they were able to make those choices, right? And the irony is their next game, they created all those chances and lost to the
yes, right.
So
yeah.
So yeah, I think that was a learning experience, right? That's that frustration of like, dag, we should have won that game and we didn't win it, and creates that situation where now it's all or nothing at the end, which is the pressure situation, and you want them to work through that. But yeah, I think that's interesting from Vlatko, who usually is a really big fan of the press and triggering the press. And also, though, he doesn't have the players there who usually trigger his presses, right? So
yeah,
again, he's got to teach that, sort of system to these younger players who haven't played together. But yeah.
I was going to say two things. So particularly we talk about using Kat as a false nine. I was also going to say if you're going to put somebody centrally of the wingers that were available, Sophia Smith, because what her and Sophia Smith were doing centrally was amazing. And I was like, please put two people on the wings, whether even if it's Trinity too, Midge, Lynn, to go as they move centrally, because that's what you want, that interchange play. And Sophia comfortably can drift centrally and is phenomenal at doing that. And they did that at Stanford a lot, actually. Mm-hmm. The other thing would be you missed Kristen Press, Tobin Heath, Maggie Rapinoe. Dare I say even Alex Morgan, who is your typical nine, and given experience in terms of, how you triggered the press. In the case of Kristen, she could have told, I could just hear her screaming, shoot, like at sometimes that they needed that understanding. You needed somebody like Tobin, even in the midfield, to just be like, hey, this is how you need to behave. This is when you need to shoot. This is when you need to midfield, particularly being a guidance for like a Ashley Sanchez, Jalen Howell, some of the younger talent, even Kat, because she's a midfielder all the time. To Maggie Rapinoe being like, it's time to go. It's time to shoot. It's time to go. This is when we shoot. This is when we playing, blah, 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 blah. You needed that veteran presence. So they got to find balance.
Yeah. And I think, again, that comes as we talk about the other games. There's one player in particular that I think was just like, yeah, okay, let's shoot. Right. And I think that's a mentality in general, maybe in WOZO right now, with very few exceptions to leagues. Like I think of Liga MX and some other leagues, but like, my argument's always shooting is a skill. It's an art form, and it's practice, it's repetition, it's all of those things. But the audacity to take shots, like, and to just be able to put the ball on frame, and the talent to put the ball on frame from distance, up close, whatever, takes time. It takes playing in the professional game at high levels consistently against tough opponents. And I don't know if all of those young players are quite there yet, quite trust their shot yet. And some of it's too, just sometimes the goalkeeper's good, right? Like, and then I don't know, it was a combination. I think sometimes they just sort of hit it with the wrong part of their foot, that kind of thing. And again, I think that always comes last, but it's there, and you got to have that mentality. Just put it on frame, just put it on frame. Good things usually happen when you do that. And you can get the goals, however, right? It's a point no matter what. So however you get the ball in the net, that's how you get the ball in the net. I also think my argument is Mal was injured, and I think more than we realized. And so it took her a while to get back into form. But I thought she had a really good game and a really good tournament. So,
I think when it comes to, I want to obviously focus a little bit on Trinity Robin, because it was her international debut in this game. Because before the camp, if you guys recall, she wasn't on the roster. She was in the training camp roster by herself because Vlatko said that she wasn't quite ready for prime time. And then a day later, she was thrust onto the team and, made her debut in the first game. And to me, it did not seem like she wasn't ready for prime time. It seemed like she was out there trying to make something happen. And what I like about her and some of the other newer cats, like Ashley Sanchez, Sophia Smith, being kind of the veteran of the new crop, right? And then even Kat, we'll talk about Kat a little bit later, but I think they have a tendency for, if they make a mistake, they file it away and they go, okay, noted. Next time I'm in this spot, I know I won't do the same thing again.
Right.
And I think what I saw from Trinity in this first game was her trying a lot of stuff because she wanted to get that knowledge filed away. She wanted to say, okay, if I do this, this is not going to work. So what do you think just about her debut in general? Did you think it was as expected, or did you think she over or underperformed?
I think it was as expected. She didn't get a ton of time.
Right.
But what I've noticed about her, right, and it's odd because she comes out in the Challenge Cup, she scores in her very first game. But what I've noticed about her is she's, despite the coaching situation, right? Like she's incredibly coachable and she picks up on things incredibly quickly. She's got a steel trap in that head of hers, right? So I don't agree that she's not ready for the moment, right? I think her best way to learn is to play. Like she's playing. If she plays, she picks it up, right? And she's always going to try stuff because that's her game. And she studies. She's a film watcher, right? She studies. She's talked about that. I know Andre, shout out to the tallest pod in US soccer. I know she talked about that when he interviewed her, right? Like she particularly studies like Tobin and Kristen and like just, and picking up on some other players, just sort of the tactics and the techniques and things that she can try and little tweaks here and there. And sometimes she does it within a game, right? Like you can see it. I think of the championship game, the difference between the first half and the second half, where she was just like, okay, I know I can take over and win this game. Yep. Right. And I think you need that. I thought it was a good debut. Like the whole team struggled sort of with putting chances away and things like that. But I thought it was cool to see her try. She had a really good chance on the left side, sort of later in the game. And it was cool, right? She's from Newport, but like the LA County area, right? Her family got to be there and see it. And I understand trying to ease people in. I think, again, that harkens back particularly to like a Mallory Pugh. But again, I don't think that was her issue. I think the issue was she was hurt and didn't really do a good job of getting her healed. And that impacted her game more than anything else. I think once she healed and she was in an environment where she got her repetition back, she's fine, clearly. And so, I think she'll be fine. I think the weight of expectation, something she seems to be able to handle. She seems to have a good team around her. And so I get Vlatko's caution, but I'm also like, that's probably not the player you have to worry about.
Yeah, that's not. Like, she was fine. Yeah. Because she almost scored when she first. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
She almost
she had that header. That header that the goalkeeper had to think about to make a save. So
right at that near post. Yeah. So
and then even her play with Ashley Hatch and Ashley Sanchez, where like she was just like coming through trying stuff that if you had her on the game, if you had her switched in at the start of the second half, she probably scores. Because she was like filling stuff out and then trying to figure out how do you break down the Czech Republic. Because it's like she was watching the game on the side. So that's what's cool, watching her, how she processes the game.
You can see, I like to say, you can see her thinking, and also very few people think like her. So like the way she sees the pitch, the way she sees in the moment isn't average, right? We talk about this, Black Irish, whatever you want to call it, like don't get the credit for being intelligent players. And she's an incredibly intelligent player and she takes instruction well, right? You want somebody who's smart and coachable, and she is those things. And oh, by the way, supremely talented, can play on both sides. Her left is apparently her weak foot, but she's learning to shoot with it. I think just doing things to make her game better. And she doesn't have the weight of a championship, right? Like she's won a championship already. So she never wins another championship. She's won a club championship, right? So expectations look different for her. And it's really tied to the national team. And I think maybe she and Kat are the last two people I can think of who've had sort of that weight of expectation. And I think it's been handled. I don't know. We could talk about how it's been handled another day, but like, I think you just have to let them play, right? Those kind of minds, let them play.
Yeah, let them play.
They'll figure it out.
And with the squad, right? Like we do have a mix of youth and some veterans, right? But there's obviously some key veterans that you had mentioned before that are missing, especially up front.
Yes.
How does that going to affect? I mean, they have the freedom now to kind of try things and see how it goes, but they really won't. I don't think we will get a full integration until we have those players in camp. How do you think the dynamic of these younger players change when you get a Kristen Press back in camp? When you get, I mean, even Lindsay Horan and Tobin Heath, and who play up front, Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan, there's so many that they could call in at any given moment. How does that dynamic change, do you think?
So it depends on the player. So in some cases, it's like, so in the case of Kristen, I think she would be good for this group because of how she sees the field, how she behaves, and how she drops back. Like she can play any line, and you have the dynamic talent up front that exists that, like, their understanding of when to shoot, when to take chances, how to angle bodies, all this stuff. They could learn so much from actually playing with her. And probably would integrate real smooth. And then, that's crazy. You got like a front line with her, Trinity, Midge, Lynn, Jesus.
I think, yeah, I think they need to see it, right?
Yeah,
like I think there's something to none of those, like those combinations haven't really happened. I think it would be worthwhile. To me, she's one of the best finishers in the world, right? So I think there's something to like having somebody that kind of plays like you, right? Because I could argue her game fits now more than it's ever fit within the national team. Or even a Pinot, right? Like for all part of why we love Pinot is the bigger the game, the better she is, right? Like she shows up in the biggest moments. She fears nothing, even when she should probably.
Right.
Or take shots even when she shouldn't.
Yeah, one leg and Olympicos, yeah.
But that, and they have it, right? They have that US arrogance that we sort of, love about players, but the ability to parlay that arrogance, I guess, into goal scoring.
Right.
And like, you can make that shot, right? Like you have the talent to make that shot. And I think seeing veteran players who have talent in that way, right? We'll see in terms of where the young players end up in 10, 15 years on what level that is, but who have similar games to them.
Right.
And can be like, okay, in this moment, do this, or trust your instincts, take the shot, get it on frame, right? Learn to angle your body, try the chances. Just because you think you can't do it doesn't mean you can't.
Or you don't get frustrated, because I did see
that too.
In the both games, you could see some frustration at times where it would be nice to even have like a Tobin Heath be like, we keep going. You mess up, you run to spots, and you go get the ball back.
And I want them to be, motivated, right? They want to win. You don't want to miss shots, but like you miss, like, not to be cheesy, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Like, just try it. This is a competitive tournament, but it's not a qualifier. It's not a World Cup. It's not an Olympics. Like you have the freedom to try some things while being in a competitive environment. And this is decent competition. Like maybe we didn't get the top European teams, but like these are all teams in the top 25. Like they're not slouch teams. So really giving them a chance to, face some competition. I would like to see it against France and England, Spain, things like that, where you have to be more probing and more patient, and some of that on the ball skill that we're sort of all salivating over. What does that look like? And then how do you finish chances in those type of games, right? And when do you have to be a playmaker versus a goal scorer, and all of those other things and dynamics, and how to play with one another, right? Like some of it is you had a lot of people who either played in college together or play on teams together who were able to work some things out.
Right.
But outside of that, they really haven't had a ton of time together. And so trying to find those right combos amongst just the young players, much less folding the veterans back in. And I muted a lot of the broadcast yesterday, but I'll give Fowley credit on this. She was like, how do you fold those things back in, right? Like, that's not an envious job. Like, how do you start to layer that? Because the truth is we're going to take a balanced team. If we want to win, that would make the most sense. You can't take a completely young team. You obviously can't take a veteran team. That didn't work out for us at the Olympics. And so it's about finding that balance. Mine is sort of like a third, right? You should have a third staunch veterans, a third sort of those in-betweeners like the Lavells, the Sam Lewises, like those people who are vets, but still kind of young. And then a third young. Like you should be able to mix that in. And so that to me is a really good balance, and then giving them at least like 6 to 8 months to really be able to work together.
Also, I would, even for the veterans, like they can't possibly be running a 4-3-3. So
yeah, that's
the introduction of actually running complicated systems that like we've dreamed about. And then what that shock looks like to some of these veterans who have historically might have played only one way, or who have wanted to play another way. And what does that look like? Because even seeing somebody who is an in-between veteran like Rose, she was up there cooking. So, having that ability to see what does that look like when you bring back somebody like Tobin Heath, or you bring back Megan Rapinoe, who plays like that for club for All Rain, what does that look like when you're bringing some of these veteran players back? And then how do they adapt? And do you adapt correctly? Because like Kelly O'Hara, you're running into spaces you shouldn't be running into. Who it was that instruction by Vlatko, or if that is you trying to make stuff happen, you need to be able to play with the youth, or you're going to be a problem going forward. So
and please stop shooting. I'm begging.
Yeah, pass.
It's not happening.
It's either got to be a shot or you got pass.
A straw.
No
Crosses.
It's got to be a legitimate pass.
But yeah, I agree with that. Like seeing Rose be able to play with other people who can match her skill set has been wild. Like that, because she was it for a while, and now there's a bunch of them, and she's like, oh, toys. Like let's just go play. Let's go be fun. Yeah. So, and it's a new way for us to play. We've never really played like this before. We've never had this talent before.
Yeah, that's true too.
I want to use that to segue into the second game, because I think what was great about the SheBelieves Cup is that it kind of mimics what a group stage in a World Cup could feel like. I mean, obviously we're going to have Sweden in the World Cup because that always happens. They seem to be in our group every major tournament. But other than that, having a Czech Republic followed by New Zealand or something like that feels like a World Cup group stage where there's a little bit more of a pressure. You don't win the first game, you come out swinging in the second one. And unfortunately for New Zealand's Michaela Moore, she was the victim of that 3 times in a row. First off, have you ever seen multiple own goals by the same person in a match? No one's ever seen 3.
I still maintain Midge hit that second. I still maintain that second one should have been Midge's, but
that Midge was a dog that hit her dead.
Yeah, I still thought that was on Midge because they changed it on the official thing. They changed it from own goal to Midge first goal back to a goal.
Yeah.
But it hit her in the head.
Yeah, I thought
I was like, what?
She celebrated like it was. I mean, calmly, but I was like, I thought she had it. But no, I have never seen anything like that. A hat trick of own goals, and I felt really horrible. Like that's probably the worst game she's ever played, and it happened to be on national TV, right? And everybody saw it, and it was a Sunday. There's nothing else to watch, right? So, but she came back in the next game, by the way. So,
but I think it was more so is unlucky, and that is the kind of thing that's gonna happen when you play with the right people and unleash a dynamic line. Because having Sophia Huerta at right back, and then you had that balance happening with Emily Fox. Oh man, that's when it was just like onslaught. So Czech Republic could experience that in the first game if you did that first game. Actually, you think about it, and I'm just keep it real, because it was like because you had the balance moving back and forth. As a result, like it was like oh, they're on this side of the field. Oh, now they're right in front of the goal. Oh, snap, on goal. Like you're trying to be hero because you're kind of shook because Sophia Smith now has the ball and she was on the other side of the field 10 minutes ago, like 10 seconds ago. Yeah. Or Mitch Purse and Sophia Smith and Katerina Macario are all in the box, like surprise, with Ashley Sanchez. Like, it's happening so quickly. You're trying to react. Yeah. And then it's quick. Or even with Midge going out, she was trying to cross the ball back and it bounced off Michaela and was on goal.
I thought that game was interesting. So yes, I think, and this is not just my oil rain bias, I think there is a world of difference when Sophia Huerta is in the right position. Oh, I think agree. One, she's a good underrated defender, I would argue, particularly because she's a naturally attacking player. But 2, man, does she have the best crosses on that team? Just ability to, I can't think of many others, like maybe Pino on a good day press something but just she's so accurate with that cross. And in that game, we played almost that entire first half out wide, right? Like they were eating on the outsides, right? For a long time, we were on the other side, and there's that crazy play by Sanchez, which I still maintain she kept the ball in. That crazy little foot. Oh man, what a 2-touch thing she did there. And that's the energy you want. Again, Sanchez tries stuff. Like she's just like, why not? Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I respect that. It can go wrong, but I respect that. And honestly, I like Emily Fox a lot. I think she's just on the right side of chaotic. On the right side of chaotic. Like a little bit of like a Sergio Ramos type vibe. Like, you know what you're gonna get. She's not quite as overly physical, but she teeters, but she's very good at what she does and isn't afraid to make those runs in. And can pass a beautiful ball. So I think that kind of energy matching on the outside gave those wingers a lot of space because your right back in particular stayed back. And that gave Mitch Purse a lot of room on that side to just eat. And I maintain Mitch Purse is our best 1v1 player, right? Like you can't knock her off the ball. She has really good on the ball skills. She's a great dribbler and she's almost always going to blow by. She's got the speed, not to use the place and power, but she's got the speed to be able to get by most defenders on that wing, and same on the other side, because I think you had Sanchez and Smith over there eating, and those goals came from crosses in, right? Like, again, we weren't really driving in. Again, we weren't playing Cat as a false 9. So there wasn't that service. And that looks very different in the second half when Hatch comes in and if we're gonna play with a traditional 9, like that's what you want. You want a tall target that can do that. And she scores our first non-own goal, but it's also because Sophia Smith puts it on her head. Didn't move for that goal. Like, I'm sorry, yeah, Sophia worked it. Sorry. My bad. That's my right bet. But puts it on her head. She didn't have to move for that.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, right? Like, you need somebody to be able to put those chances away, and also you need somebody to give them those chances. And so I thought there was a world of difference. I thought there was better interplay. I thought we still struggled centrally because after that goal, we sort of lost it in the middle again. And I think that's going to be something we search for because 9s in the game aren't really 9s anymore. There aren't a lot of traditional 9s.
Yeah.
Because like on Monday, when I saw France play the Netherlands, Katoto was out here running down the making like runs like an 8 or a winger, but she's a 9, right? Like it's a different day, and we've got to be able to match that energy. So we've got to figure out some things in terms of the talent that we have.
Yeah.
And what that's going to look like.
Yeah, you're going to have wingers being 9s. Like,
you're going to have to do a lot of interplay. And I think a lot of clubs are doing that now. And so it's going to be, I think Morgan and Hatch are sort of, and Hatch can play out wide a little bit too, but like, that's a dying breed. Like the Alex Morgan 9 is a dying breed. The game has changed. It's not anybody's fault. That's just how sports work. And so I think we're going to have to figure out that middle. And that's why I'm like, maybe we try it, but it also takes a really long time to learn how to play false 9, particularly when it's not in the DNA of this country to do things like that and play a little more European, South American, whatever you want to call it. But I also think the talent's not changing, right? Like it's going to veer more toward that than what it's been. And so we simply haven't had the players with that skill set before. And so, and I think, as we, we'll move on to the third game in a minute, it might be time to build around some of that young talent. And so I'd like to see what it looks like. And keeping in mind, I think Emily Fox is really good at that left back position. And so I'm hoping and praying that Vlatko has sense. Maybe we can move Crystal Dunn into the midfield.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something like that, who can sort of stabilize that and let those players be free. And maybe we're in a position where Becky doesn't play every game. I imagine she's going because she's a Captain America and that we want her there. But like maybe she has to play every game and we have a Cook or Davidson who can play a 3 at the back, right? And so we can experiment and give all of that attacking talent on the ball skill room versus playing in a traditional 4-3-3. So there's stuff to experiment with there for sure.
I was definitely saying to some people that if we do our jobs right as America in developing some of these younger players, it's not that we will need Becky to play, is that we will need her to play all 3 games and play every single minute. Like we have basically relied on her to be good the last 3 years because she's the best center defense person on the planet. You have to, you make it where you trust someone else to be there and say, hey, Becky, you can take the night off. You're good. We got people behind you that can get the job done in your absence. And I think that's where these young kids are coming in, where they're building that trust now so that when it comes time for this summer and, next summer, then they go, okay, yeah, you guys can cook. We got you. And, vets, you can kind of hang back for a minute and chill out for a little while, get that rest. Because again, especially for Megan Rapinoe, who we know when the lights are on and everybody's coming after her, that's when she shines. Yeah. You don't have to do that every game. We can bring her out when the lights are shining brightest. I
would like our vets to be super subs. I would like our vets to only have to play one game in the group stages. I would I think they are necessary, but I would like to be able to save them for the knockout rounds. Like I would like to be able with that balance to be able to strategically do that. I think the center back position is one of those positions where we actually have that coming. We have a Davidson and we have a Cook. And oh, by the way, Naomi Gurm is at home, right? I think if she starts off well, she's there too. And as somebody who's seen that in person, it is the real deal. So we have people who can take that and have the demeanor. Like, I don't think you can phase Monica. She does not seem like she's phased by anything. As somebody who's had to, do interview questions with her, nothing.
She has the glare. I know we're going towards the third game, but when I saw her come out the locker room in Frisco, she had to look like a nothing. Like this weather ain't nothing stopping me today. Like she has that stare. She
seems like the Becky demeanor. I got it. I got it.
Unflappable.
I would trust her with it. I got it. And that partnership, right? And there's no learning curve, right? She and Davison played together in college,
right?
So they already know how to read each other, and they happen to play on the right and the left, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no conflict.
And they accidentally slipped into a 3-back at one point where it was like,
it's
whatever.
Doable. And again, I would like to be
you
able
didn't
to
notice.
play a 3-back.
Yeah.
Like you have to be paying attention to notice because it seemed so fluid when they did it.
And we conceded no goals in this tournament, right? So I think there's a testament to no loud defender is good defense, right? And I'll even give props to your girl who played all 3 games, Andy Sullivan, like as that 6, right? Is we're so worried about will Julia Ertz ever play again? And people have been telling you Andy Sullivan's the one. I didn't hear a peep about Andy Sullivan because Andy Sullivan did her damn job.
Right.
So, and she's a leader, right? Same demeanor. She's pretty unflappable. Like she understands her role. She can deliver passes if she needs to, but she is that protection in front of those backs. If you play a 3-back, same thing. And maybe that's when you switch to 2 6s. That's a different conversation.
But that's even like you didn't hear about Andy Sullivan because she even dropped into the 3-back and then Sophia's work went up.
I've seen her do it, for a club team when they were a person down or a woman down, like she's pretty flexible in that way. And, my standard argument is I don't know what Stanford's teaching on defense, but they're doing it well. And they should probably write a book about it because they just churn out defenders that can defend. And I'm very big on make defenders defend again, right? Like everybody can't be outside back that runs up into the attack. So I think that's the position I'm least worried about, actually, is that I think we have a really good young core coming through that central defense where Becky can take a break and it's not all on her anymore. And she deserves that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, but on the other side, more from Skye and Sylvs right here on the Stars and Stripes FC podcast. Stick around. Skye, I want to shift to the third game, and we got to talk about it. We got to talk about the first goal, 5-0, by the way, against New Zealand. Of course, 3 of those being own goals, unfortunately. But we also had another 5-0 scoreline against Iceland in the cold in Frisco. I was there last night, but we got to talk about Kat's first goal. I will tell you, I want to know what it looked like.
I want to talk about the second one, so y'all go ahead.
I want to know what it looked like on TV because it looked great.
It was amazing.
We screamed. It looked like Jesus.
Me and my roommate were looking. Me and my roommate were sitting on the couch, and I was like, "Is she about to score?" And it was like, we screamed because it was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Holy sh!"
I ran down my hallway, so
I was
like, "Yo!" My parents are here, and so my dad's like, "Oh, there's a game. Like, can I watch it with you?" And so I was like, "Yeah." And he, my dad's the person who's always paid attention to the Black players and, got me in, Brianna Scurry, sort of the first person we knew in soccer that we watched together. And he's a Cat Macario fan now. He was like, holy, he doesn't know much, but he knows that's not a goal.
That's what hit every day. I screamed because I was like, oh my God.
You shouldn't have shot it. There's no reason for her to shoot that goal.
Yes, she does shoot that goal because she's been doing
audacity.
Yeah,
but
she has audacity.
Defenders. She's between 2 defenders. But
what did that look like in person? Because
look, so I was online with it. So first of all, everything went in slow motion. I was drumming. Even me drumming was just slow motion.
You were on TV drumming, by the way.
Yeah. So when the ball is hit, you just hear the wind whistle. You're like, wow, is that a shot? That is a shot. It's not going to go in. Because if you remember, in the first half, we had so many of those that were just creeping past the line.
Right.
So this one, everybody's kind of like, oh, another one's going past the line. And then you saw it just curl just a little bit. And everybody's like, oh my goodness. So I think I have my hands in the air. Yeah, that's going in. As it hits the post, it goes in. But man, that was
somebody said they were mad she didn't call bank on that. It was a bank shot.
Hey, that's a Shea Butter. That's Shea Butter boom. That was you yell. No, you don't yell Kobe. You yell Marta.
Yeah, we're supposed to yell.
But it was is that a shot? That is a shot. And I was like, yo.
She froze. There was nothing that goalkeeper could do. Done. You can't.
It bounced off.
Sometimes the other player's just too good. And that's one of those where I'm like, that's Bakari.
The worst feeling for a goalkeeper, the worst keeper feeling is when you just have to watch and you have this look on your face as it hits the post and goes in. You have that look like, y'all wanted me to stop that? That's not my job. I'm just a goalkeeper. I don't do that.
I was a goalkeeper in. I basically was like, that when that happened, she just go,
too good. It's too
that's
good,
good, man.
Speaking of too good, somehow she decided to double up on that.
No. All right, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, Sylvs, take it away. Go.
Because how she got her body around that ball. Because please understand, when she gets the ball, she's running away from the center and away from the goal. Like she's parallel to the goal, running to the ball like she's going to pass it.
Right.
Torques her body and hip just enough to get around it. She doesn't completely get her momentum behind it until after the ball's gone. And it's a chip shot. And I'm just like, she did not. I'm like, she did not.
I knew she was doing it. And it was hilarious because I could see Mallory Pugh running
onto the ball. Yeah, Mal knew, which is wild. So clearly they've been working on some stuff. Because when she's running onto the ball, I'm like, there's no world where I think she's going to take a shot. There's no reason to take that shot. And that's the one where I'm like, that's why she's the one. That's why she's the one.
No, that was a good tip. No, I saw that.
But the audacity to be like, I'm going to shoot this.
But I knew she was going to do that. And yes, her and Mal have been playing together. But Mal, it was funny when Mal was like, oh, she's shooting that.
Let me go run into the goal.
She moved back so it didn't bounce off of her into the net.
Yeah.
But I figured she was going to do it because when she turned, I was like, oh, she's going to chip the goalkeeper. Yeah. The goalkeeper going to be trouble. Because
she would have been off her line because the goalkeeper wouldn't have thought that was going to be a shot, right? So the goalkeeper would have come over and she could have chipped her. And I'm just like, there's a handful of players in the world who think I can shoot that when they're making the run to the ball. Yeah, there's a shot is going to be on the line.
No, I knew that was coming.
But she's one of them, and I'm just like, there's not a thing you can do about that.
That was right in the corner where we were, and from our angle, it looked like. I mean, she was running straight. It looked like she was running towards straight to the sideline. She wasn't. It's not like she was running at an angle. She was running straight to the ball.
She's straight, and then she just curved her body. Yeah.
But I figured she was. I figured she was turning to shoot. I figured she was. And I was like, she was going to chip because as a goalkeeper, I was like, she's going to chip the goalkeeper when she goes forth because she tried to shoot before the previous play, whatever. When she missed the shot, whatever previously, she was going, I was like, oh, when she's going to try to shoot, chip the goalkeeper. Yeah. That's going to suck. Yeah. Because as a goalkeeper in the moment, you're like, but
there's nothing she could do.
That was one where, again, she turned in our angle. It wasn't clear whether it was a shot or a chip. But when she turned it, I was just kind of like, get in there. Like, what? Like, why not? Right. And then you see the goal again. You see the goalkeeper go like, "Oh, I missed that. That might be going in." And then as soon as it dips, and you see, I don't know who it was that was running.
It's Mal. Mal ran on into the net just in case. Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. But Mal's in the goal, and she basically almost catches it. She's like, "That's in. That's good."
Yeah. But I'm just again, there's a handful of players who tried that shot. There's a handful of players, and I can't even think of them on top of my head. That have the nerve to be like, yeah, I can shoot that. And I know she's off her line. Yeah. And on the first one, she looked where the goalkeeper was before she took that shot. That's why she took it.
Yeah, she took it.
She knew exactly where she was.
That's why actually, because of Kat's tendencies, I was like, she missed it. She's going to try to shoot again within that frame. That's why I was in shock. And I could see where the goalkeeper was. And I was like, yeah, that's going to suck. I've been there. I've lived that life.
Yeah. And she's a little arrogant. I enjoy that. And she said after the game, because they asked her if she meant it. She's like, I mean every shot.
Yeah.
I mean every shot.
No, I didn't mean to shoot it. I didn't mean to do that beautiful thing that you just saw. It shanked it. No.
Yeah.
But no, you mentioned the link up play between Kat and Mallory Pugh. They did link together on a goal. Obviously, that was one where Kat could have got her hat trick, but instead she passed off to
completely unselfish.
Mallory Pugh. Yes. Pugh got 2, Kat got 2, and I feel like the two of them just all night were on a wavelength that no one else on the field was on.
They were on a different level, and because we stayed and watched the Czech Republic Iceland game, that was very much, I thought the Czech Republic was the better team, and they simply couldn't finish their chances. And number 6 for them was Koryova. I'm sorry, Sophie, if I said it incorrectly. I'm a practice, but she gets on me for not saying European names correctly, but. I thought she was one of the best players in the tournament. It was eating them alive on the wings. And I'm like, if you watch any film, if you're the US, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna eat, because they can't stop that type of runner on the wings. And I'm like, oh, Malpu's gonna eat because they can't stop that. Right. And so it didn't surprise me. It is interesting how quickly they've learned to link up. And I'll give Ashley Sanchez a shout as well. That pass she laid in for that first Malpu goal.
Yeah,
chef's kiss. Mal was off. We're not gonna talk about that though. She was
a
off.
little bit.
There's no bar. There's no bar.
It was just a little toe. It was just a little tag of a toe.
Nope, not gonna count it.
But that was a beautiful pass. I'm like, it deserved a goal, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was like, that Iceland defense isn't quite staunch enough to shut that down. And that's something they need to work on, right? Because they're playing this tournament to get ready for the Euros this summer, and they're in a hard group, but like they got a shot. They got talent. They just have to sort of put it together. So hopefully, if they play a couple more tournaments, they can.
And they need to learn how to switch sides. With
their best and they're
forward.
Pretty young too. So like they, that was a learning experience for them. And I think the Czechs are in a fight to get into the World Cup, and so people, had reasons to play. And I think that's a legitimate team. But yeah, I was like, when I saw that Czech Republic Iceland game, I'm like, if he plays the right people on the wings and then on that attacking line, they're going to eat them alive because they just don't have it to stop that for 90 minutes. And I even thought the subs were good, right? Chrissy Muniz ends up getting the goal, the fifth goal on an assist to Midge, who again, best 1v1 player, just ate them up on the corner, dinks it in, and Gotham fans rejoice, right? Because that's a Gotham goal.
Yo, Lynn Williams could have had a couple goals because she was up there just living. Like, they were eating.
And so it's gonna, I think we're in a good place in that, hey, there are gonna be people, it's only 23 spots, right? There's gonna be people we really like who have sublime talent and who probably start on most other people's teams who aren't gonna make it. I'd rather be spoiled for choice. I'd rather have that, and particularly having younger talent. And I feel a way about the age conversation because I think it's more quality of play than it is age. I mean, Formiga was good at 40. So, you can be good. I mean, starting in the Champions League game and doing really well. So it is also about the talent level, not just the age, and being cautious and wear and tear, how much has a person actually played? All of that comes into play. But I think we're in a really good place where, we can have the balance we kind of always wanted. And I think it'll push the vets. Like, I think I saw Pino go up for that, lost her mind over that Katerina Macario goal. So there's not necessarily jealousy, but that's going to push them for their club teams, right?
Right.
If we're truly about club play, if we're truly it is based on how you play for club, it's on. That's what we love about this team. But that's what we love about this team, right? The best competitions are the practices for the United States women's national team. They go, it's a bloodbath. They go at each other. And I think that's what those young kids got to learn. You gonna get your ass busted a little bit here from time to time, but that's what we want. And so we get the 23 best players for the tactics that we have, that we're deploying. I think there's not a lot to talk about. Like I said, we kept the clean sheet. I don't see Casey Murphy not going at this point. I think she's in there. She might be the one. But Listener got to play as well. So I think that's it. And then I think there's probably a battle for that third spot between AD and Aubrey. So we'll see. But I think we have a deeper goalkeeper pool than we've ever had. So that's also very reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't even mention Jane Campbell, and she's had a couple clean sheets you have to throw her into that mix.
Yeah,
she may not be,
I think there's probably a battle for that third spot. But I think at this point it's probably, those four fighting for three spots. So, I think we have depth everywhere, finally. I hope we can get that midfield sorted out. Obviously we're waiting for a Samuels to come back. Crystal Dunn's obviously pregnant. We do have some people, in the mix who can't play right now for any number of reasons. And so, I think now the next couple of camps, I think we have April and June before qualifiers to really see where people are. And then we'll learn some things when he calls up that qualifying squad. So sorry, the lights in my office went off.
I mean, I also would like to see more depth at outside back with actually outside backs. So bring in from the champion NWSL team. Well, she's now with the San Diego Wave, Tiki McGrady. But then look at somebody like Kiki Pickett. Look at somebody like Caprice Tedesco. Sarah Gordon can play both sides. Because when you play, Sarah Gordon shut down 3 of the best players in the world for France in a game. So it's you need that kind of outside back ability, defensive ability if you're going to the World Cup. So, or even when you playing somebody like Mexico, because Mexico out here, the stars are gone. They out here balling and dropping 10 goals on people. Yeah. So you need that playing them or playing Jamaica, because it's not going to be a walk through the park or Canada.
Right. I mean, look at I know you're talking about US, but again, Arnold Clark Cup is going on, the Tournoi de France is going on, and the Algarve are going on at the same time. So you got to see some of the other top teams. I think particularly Arnold Clark in the French competition. You got to see sort of those top 10 teams in action, and yeah, some of that's scary. Like we gotta get ourselves. I've only seen as the minister of the Church of Marie Antoinette Catota, is my girl. The only person I've seen her figure is Aragorn. Like I've genuinely be like, where the hell, like y'all have that here? Like what's like the ability to be able to keep up with that? Nobody else is stopping it. The Netherlands surely didn't. Brazil surely didn't. Who else is in that? I mean, Finland isn't necessarily ranked as high, but like that score, like she scores against everyone. It doesn't matter. And while she scored in that game, like it was harder for her than I've seen. And so you like thinking along those lines, like, and being able to set those defenses differently, like against Spain or even against England, right? Who I don't know how good Wegman is, but she's not Neville, right? So that team's going to look better, and it's got talent. And you know, Canada, I think, has proven they aren't a fluke,
right?
In terms of a team, I think they had a really good tournament, and that back line is so good. And for my money, Ashley Lawrence is the best outside back in the world, and just they've got talent on every line too, and they're getting younger. It's not just Christine Sinclair and them girls anymore, right? Like it's a different day. And so even getting through CONCACAF or winning qualifiers, you know, you talked about Mexico, that team's not scared anymore, and it's young and it's hungry, and they have a heck of a coach, and like Liga MX Femme has just prepared them. Like they shoot, but they don't care. They don't care. And so
you need a defense for that.
Or even like
you're starting to see Americans like me official go there to get that experience and get that knowledge
and learn how to play a different way. And in that atmosphere, nothing's going to scare them. Mexican soccer has some of the most rabid fans on the planet. Like they chase Katy Martinez in her car every day, right? Like the loyalty, good or bad, that's going to prepare them, right? And you mentioned me official. Even you mentioned the people coming from the U23 system, right? Like if me official showed up on this team, it wouldn't shock me. If you know a couple of the other U23 players showed up on this team, it wouldn't shock me. And so, I think the pool is incredibly deep, and some young players aren't going to go until 2027, and that's okay, right? Like there's also Club World Cups for the Club World Cups for U20s too, and getting them that experience. But we're spoiled. Like I think this is the most talent we've ever had. Yeah. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited that a lot of it looks like us, and I'm ready. Like we can do this. We can do this, but we gotta do it smartly.
Yes. I
think that's a great way to end this part of the She Believes Cup recap. I thought you guys, again, it was great to meet you both out in LA. Finally, we've talked on Zooms before, but it was great to meet in person. But I want to talk about you guys very quickly. And your podcast, for those people out there who listen to this show who may not have listened to Shea Butter FC, what can we expect when we listen to you guys on the podcast? What is your MO?
Well, elevating the voices, experiences, the everything of Black women, non-binary Black non-binary players, people, entity, staff, everybody under the sun in this WOSO space to support the groups, to get people exposure, and also to give looking from a Black perspective and a voice of, there's a bajillion voices, but to be seen and to be heard about some things and how we see the game, and perspectives and things that exist, because currently in the United States in particular, it's overtly white in terms of how things are presented, commentated, looked at, media, everything in between, that you're then keeping out what's the beautiful game and the diversity of it, and the beauty of the culture of what it could be. But given a perspective in terms of like what it would look like from a Black perspective, and then what it could possibly be, because we talk from anything from fashion to
fan culture, game day culture,
game day culture, all that stuff.
All of it, like sponsorships, like all of the things that I think one particular culture has permeated and has left out. The game isn't white, but the access to the game is, and so really trying to say like this is what it can look like while also elevating the people who are already there. And as we know, it's really hard to be a black player in the United States and to break through, particularly on a national team level, but even on a club team level. And like Skye said, how you're viewed, how your talent's viewed, all of those things. and the staff, right? You don't have a lot of people in front offices. You clearly don't have coaches, or there are coaches, but they don't get the opportunities. Technical staff, sort of all of those people, marketing, all of it, right? Like, it's just, we're not anywhere near the numbers we should be for the amount of our kids that play this sport, right? Or the fact that kids stop playing this sport, around a certain age because the money's too much. There's nobody that looks like them. They don't keep going. They don't see themselves. So even just getting those players out there so that little girls and non-binary kids can see them and be like, oh, somebody who looks like me and plays like me is out here wearing the United States colors, or wearing my club team's colors, or playing at my college even, and getting them access to that. And if you see yourself, you can be yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I think that representation is not everything, but it surely matters. And so really just trying to open up American soccer for that.
Additionally,
in all areas.
Additionally, looking at, from perspective of marketing and branding, from a Black perspective, from like why Black supporter groups are important. We had Rose Room, we had Chicago Black Fires on, so I can talk about their journey and why they've come into existence, and then the things they deal with within their own cities. But then exploring, like, why it matters how you market to different groups if you want them to appear, what it needs to look like from a game day experience, even before you get into the stadium. When you're in the stadium, if you're gonna want people who look like us to be there and participate, to like, hey, this was going on, this is why people ain't buying your merchandise, like to like various possibilities of things that you could use to not just grow the team culture for people to show up on the game day, but how you can help change the neighborhoods and communities around that exist.
And I think one, like, not small piece, but one last piece is also like our ability to actually cover the game, to break down tactics, to talk about the game. It's the best sport. Like, for me, I love very few things more, like my mom, my dad, and some other, like, I love very few things more than I love this sport, even when it drives me mad. Right. So really to be able to talk about that and to show that, like, we know what we're watching, and to be able to promote the game and bring people in. So, like, my mom knows nothing about the sport, but she can listen to the podcast and at least know, okay, 1 through 11, or, how a game breaks down in 90 minutes, like the very basics of the sport. So here to educate people about that as well. And to have, we're not journalists by trade, but to have journalistic integrity and to cover the game from a Black person's perspective, because so journalism is also very white, right? Like, how the game is covered is very white. And so really trying to bridge that gap and get the access into those spaces and to be able to change that perspective. So we're not stuck on pace and power, or they're fast, or they can't play midfield, or all of those things that come with the overt and covert racism that permeates the sport. So just trying to brighten the corner we're in and have an impact and share the game with people.
And also empower people, bring people along in the mix. We have some people who are working with us. Hey, Nubia, hey, Georgia, who are helping in terms of not helping us grow our brand and get exposure, but bringing in stuff, highlighting players, like highlighting the Black players of the last NWSL draft throughout the course of Black History Month, but then also, having a chance to, connect with different support groups and something that's going to appear later. But like, be in a space for people to communicate, to get the access that doesn't exist. Because as we learn, as we grow our podcast, we trying to open doors for other people to come through and feel empowered. So.
And then just making sure people aren't erased, right? So we elevate the names of the people, this Zakiya Bywaters, the Kaya McCulloughs, the people who've put their names and their necks and their careers online, to make sure you remember them no matter what, right? And how much they've impacted this sport, and honestly, the conversations in this country. So just really, really trying to keep them in the conscience of people as well, because it's very easy in this country, not just in soccer, but everywhere, to erase Black women. So we want to make sure we're doing that.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. And me personally, I think what I appreciate the most about your show is that you guys just came out the corner swinging. You didn't ease into whatsoever. You came out swinging. You talked about stuff that people weren't talking about. You highlighted some stories that people weren't discussing. And I like that you link with other podcasts. Obviously you have the whole, as I said before, you have the whole Cultureverse. But you guys link with different supporters groups who have been entering the space and getting their stories out there as to why, not necessarily how they formed, because we always ask how, but we never ask why it's needed or why they felt that they needed to create that space for themselves. And I think you guys do a great job of that, not just for Black women and non-binary women, but for everybody in the people of color in the space. So I really appreciate that part. But for all the episodes that you've done so far, I believe you're on 36 with a few parts here and there. What's the one that's kind of stood out to you that you're like, this is the one that, this is why we made this show? Like, this is the one that you can hang your proverbial hat on.
Oh man, that's hard. It's complicated.
I know. I got
multiple. I got layers. So
layers. Yeah.
Okay. So I think one that was transformative was, we talk and stuff, we did this to be heard, but then when we did spaces and we actually, then we interviewed players for the first time, but then we actually connected with people who listen to our show. And so, we were tired. But then to hear people, like the first time we met Nubia effectively and actually talk to them, like to hear and other people to go, yo, I listen to you because it's like cool to be seen. Like that was like real. And it's like, oh shit. And I think that sticks, or even hearing somebody like Sydney Cummins. Like, you had no idea about her because they weren't covering her. Hearing her, all the things that we should have heard pre-draft about her evolution and then things, experiences, it was like, man, that's powerful. Other than that, all these interviews.
The interviews, like, I think the Spaces interviews were really seminal in that. I think, it's the first time where we really got to hear verbally confirmation that, hey, the thing you're doing is working and it's reaching the people it needs to reach. And it's empowering other people in the soccer, the WOSO space to speak out and see themselves and feel heard and use their own voice and their own talents and see it as a possibility. So even when we say representation matters, like being on the other side of that matters to us. And, I work with young people all the time. And so really letting them feel empowered and letting them know that their talent is necessary and it works in this space and they can do what they want, and helping them in any way that we can is always important. I think all of the spaces were really good. I think you had different levels of player, right? You had a vet, you had somebody in between, you had a rookie, but a lot of the feedback I get is about that Sydney Cummings interview. I think just because she made very plain and from her own lived experience, things we've always said about what it is to be a Black woman or a Black, not very binary person in this sport. I think she was able to articulate that. That Ivy League education probably helps, but like being able to say that in a way where it connected with non-Black people, I think that was really important. I think the supporter group ones are fun just because we got to interview our friends. Like that's pretty nice. Right. Our crossovers with the Tallest Pod, Diaspora United, have always been really fun. We always go over, but like again, that's just like, oh, we talk all the time. Like we get to make shows with people we're really cool with. And I know there's been a few, we call it opening the library. And I think there's a few things we said that sort of resonated with people. And we find out, oh, people really are listening. And I'm always still blown away that people listen. But I'm really grateful. But I'm glad they're listening. And I hope it's reaching the people that it needs to reach, so we can make this place a little safer, for everybody coming who doesn't look the part of sort of American soccer.
I will say also, when we interviewed Mariah Lee and she talked about basketball, and that was the first time in a while that I thought back to me even playing how I played. Like it was based off basketball because we had no instruction, having a real deep discussion over the course of that conversation. That was a good one. And just talking about a bunch of stuff we've talked about before, but having somebody who's playing professionally see the same things. And it was like, yo, this is what's up. So
yeah, the interviews have definitely been eye-opening. Yeah, we could talk to Mariah forever. But I think that validation too, like, how you see the game is how I see the game and I'm playing the game, right? Like, the player, I think the player interviews have been sort of watershed, and just being able to have fun and highlight some of the goals. Like I think when it was we played like Jamaica and Nigeria, those were fun games, right? Like just being able to have conversations and seeing a lot of the players that we've always liked, getting a chance on the national team and doing that. And I would just like to shout out our first episode, because in our first episode we gave y'all 5 players to look for and we were right about them all. So we're right more than we're wrong. So I just want to, give ourselves props. Like the way we see the game is pretty accurate. So we know what we're talking about. And so that's also a really good validation. But yeah, I'm excited anytime somebody says they listen and appreciate what we're saying.
Yep.
Yeah. As you guys go forward, I mean, we're running short on time, but as you go forward, is there one thing that you're trying to do with the podcast, one person you're trying to interview? If you're like, hey, if they're listening to this show right now, which they probably aren't, but if they are, you're saying, hey, I want to interview you for the Shea Butter FC podcast, who would it be?
I'm Steph Curry. I'm gonna pull up for 3. Yo, Crystal Dunn, where you at?
Hey, yeah. Also with Kristen Press.
Yeah, where you at?
A joint. We do the joint episode.
I'm down with that. Like however they want to give us their time that is precious is fine with me.
I think that would have to be a mini series.
But I mean, I don't think we've made.
Yeah, we can do a mini series.
To talk about.
All the Black people on the national team.
Yeah, honestly, but like I think we've made no bones. I think we've made no bones. Crystal and Kristen are girls, but but all of them are the ones.
All of them.
But you said shoot for the stars. So I'm like Steph Curry from half court. Why not?
Hey.
In the gym, just walking in the gym. Boom.
Just walking.
Like,
I mean, he hit 16 the other night. Hopefully this one goes to 40. I would love to be a fly on the wall on that one. So
yeah.
So before we get out of here, why don't you tell the people where they can find you both and the podcast? Skye, let's go with you first.
Oh Lord. Okay, so I'm on the Twitter at the SKY FYE. Yeah, FUTBOL. Sky Football on Twitter. You can find our podcast at on the interwebs at SheButterFC.com. But then also SBFC_podcast on Twitter on IG. Where can I find you, Skye? I mean Sylvs, my bad.
So yes, I'm on Twitter as well. I'm at Southern Sylvs. I'm not hard to find, apparently. And in theory, I have an Instagram, but I'm never on it, so don't do that. Like, it's just going to disappoint. It's just going to be upset. Honestly, be mad. Yeah. Go to the show one; it's much more active. But yeah, and also you can find me from time to time. Like Skye said, we have a website, so doing some writing for that.
You can plug your upcoming article.
Yes, I have an upcoming article. It's going to be titled "The Fallacy of Pace and Power," so that's going to drop soon. And you can find me on there on our website, 2 Cents, the Cultureverse, as you said. And then I'm also a writer for OL Reign, so Bleacher Report. So I do some of our game recaps and some of the other pieces on the players for OL Reign.
And then other than that, you'll see members of our Shea Butter team in the streets. And you'll see other things in the future that we can't disclose yet. But yes.
Yeah, we're working on some good stuff.
We're out here.
Yeah, you know what? And that means you guys should go to the website, go to the podcast, subscribe to it. Make sure, because if you turn on notifications, you will get all this information delivered to you. You ain't got to go search for it. You don't want to search for some of this stuff because it's really, really good. Skye Sylvs, the co-host of the Shea Butter FC podcast. Thank you so much. It was great to meet you guys in person. Yes. Thanks for all you both are doing to, add to the space and shine a light on Black women in this space, because it's badly needed. I know I greatly appreciate it, because even I try to highlight some of them, and I know I can do better, but that's where you guys have come in to really provide that backbone and foundation of information. So I really appreciate both of you, not just for being on the show, but for what you're doing and what you continue to do.
Thank you,
man. We appreciate you too and all the work you do.
For sure. Bang it on the drums.
Yeah, holding down the whole scene, man. You do a lot. I saw a lot this weekend. You do a lot, man.
You do a lot.
You do a lot.
I'm gonna go sleep. Now. Again, I really appreciate Skye and Sylvs from the Shea Butter FC podcast for joining me. And that will do it for episode 75 of the Stars and Stripes FC podcast. Remember, go follow them, Shea Butter FC podcast. They're available wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also subscribe to this podcast if you have not done it yet. Rates and reviews are awesome, and they really help. So 5 stars if you like what you're hearing. If you have questions for me or for the show, or you have topic suggestions, send them to ssfcpodcast@gmail.com. So for Skye and for Sylvs, until next time, take care.